Welcome back to the Green Workbench. Today I'm going to walk you through how I built this wooden crate or box. The purpose for building it was actually for a play, Oklahoma, to be on stage, so it needed to look like an old-time crate. So this wood I was using was 1-inch rough Douglas fir stock. And to keep with the crate look, I didn't plane it down or even it out. I just used it as it came. So it averages about an inch, but it's plus or minus. So that was one of the challenges of building the box. So the first step was to get all my pieces ready. So the next step was to rip all of my pieces into 4-inch boards. So I've got nice even edges on each side. And I'm going to use 4 to a side, so it's 16-inch square box. Now I need to mark them up to glue them together, and I glued them together using biscuit joints. So in order to do that, the first thing you need to do is line it up. Now when you're gluing boards together like this, you need to make sure that each alternating board, that the grain is going the opposite direction. So here the grain is going down, turning down, and here it's turning up. And on this side again it's going down and then up. And that helps with keeping it from warping. So that's an important step. So you have each side joined up, where the boards look good together, your grain is all going in the proper direction, and now you need to mark it for your biscuit joints. So that's actually a simple process. It doesn't matter exactly where you mark it as long as you're consistent with where all the boards line up. So you go through here, mark a straight line through each side, and that's where you're going to cut your biscuits. And then I also labeled it A2, B2, C2, D2, and then on the other side was A1, B1, etc. So I knew which board went next to which other board and on which end, keeping it all straight. Because when you have all these boards sitting out, it can get confusing. So 16 inches, and then you can do it as tall as you want. I ended up cutting mine at about 24. So once that's done, you liberally apply the glue on each edge, glue them together, clamp it up, make sure it's laying flat so that it doesn't dry warped, and leave it overnight. So I have the lids and then each side. Next step was to decide how I was going to join the sides together, and I decided to go with a 45-degree angle, and there's a lot of different methods you could take. With the 45 I was able to set up the fence, run through each end on the table saw, and that way I also knew that each of my sides was the exact same width. One thing I've seen done is after you cut the 45 you go the opposite direction, and then you cut a slot here where you can slide a spline all the way down. I decided to keep with the biscuits. So if you can look here in this corner, you'll see I line them up together and then again marked my lines with the pencil, and I have 3 biscuits going down each. You switch your biscuit joiner to a 45-degree angle, and it's the exact same process. Make your cut with your biscuit joiner, line them up, apply glue, and clamp them together. Now in order to keep it square, and because I'm clamping 4 sides, I had to apply force in each direction using clamps. So I've got clamps going side to side and up and down in all directions, all the while ensuring that it's square, because you don't want it to dry and it not be square. And your best method for making sure it's square is to measure from corner to corner in an X, and as long as those measurements are the same, then you're square and you're good to go. So glue that up, clamp it up. Really important to take your time clamping, and then let it dry. And you have your walls of the box. Okay, now to attach the base. So I cut a rabbet out at the bottom piece all the way around so that it would sit up inside. And because the boards are not planed and therefore not all the same thickness, I had to cut to the largest, thickest board. So that's why you see a space around the edges here. But that's okay. So I did that. You can do that using a router, a shaper, or I did it on the table saw. Route it all the way around. Remember, crosscut, you needed to use a miter gauge. If you're going with the grain, you use the fence, or it'll kick back on you. So this is my bottom piece, and you can see how it's set in. Now, I didn't use any nails or screws on the body of this box. So what I did is I glued it down, clamped the bottom piece down, and then I drilled a 1/4 inch hole through the sidewall and then in through the base of this bottom piece. Tapped in, filled it with glue, tapped in a dowel, and I did one for each board all the way around. So this bottom is being held on by glue and by these dowels. It actually turned out pretty good. Okay, next step was attaching the hinge, and I used a piece of piano hinge. Using a chisel, I cut out a piece here so that my hinge could inset so that the lid would lay flat. So make sure your chisel's sharp and you do a little bit at a time so you're not ripping it out. Inlay that hinge, screw it in. Those were the first screws I used, and your lid is attached. Now there are multiple pieces that you can buy that hold open the door. You can buy them for toy cabinet safety latches. I just used a piece of chain. Screw in a washer up here, screw in a washer down here, and this piece of chain, and it holds open the lid so that it doesn't crash all the way down. And it's at an angle where it'll stay open by itself. If you're wondering what these circles are, that was I experimented with a different type of hinge and had to fill it in, and just didn't take the time to redo the top because it's on the closed side. And it will also be covered with cedar. So my lid is attached with this hinge. It's not going to fall off or rip the hinge out because I've got the chain that holds it. The bottom's on, and now I made some handles. So what I did for the handles was took 2 horseshoes, put them in a steel vise, and hammered them so that they bent right along the vise line, and screwed them in, and now they stick up and make great handles. I also, for my latch, you can use a bunch of different types of latches. I had some extra chain, so I just use that and a hook, and that keeps the door shut when I want it shut, and it's easy to open when I want it open. So the last step in completing this box is going to be to line it with cedar, and we'll cover that section next. Alright, we start by placing the bottom, so we're going to measure that out. It is 13.5, and we're going to go the opposite direction of the boards on the bottom. So we'll fill it up 13.5 all the way across. So we'll start making those cuts. Alright, we've got the first piece cut, and I'm just gonna punch a few brads in there. Alright, so I have the bottom done and one of the sides, and I'll just keep going around the other 3 sides until it's fully lined. Alright, I have the entire thing lined. So now I've got to sand these edges, soften them up so they don't snag. And I'll just use a really fine sandpaper. My garage smells really good right now. Okay, so with a nice boiled linseed oil finish on the outside, and then the cedar on the inside, we're ready to go. You can store blankets in there, keep them free from mothballs and keep them smelling nice. Hope you enjoyed this project. Please subscribe to my channel. Check out my other videos. And you can find pictures on Instagram and Twitter also of other projects. Thank you for watching, and I will see you again next time.